The New Norm is brought to you by Winning at Home. I'm Steve Norman. Welcome to The New Norm. Recently, I was asked to speak at a church about the theology of artificial intelligence, and I will start immediately by saying that that is a topic that is not within my immediate realm of expertise, but I learned some interesting things along the way, and here are some snapshots from that particular talk. The following article appeared in the March 4th, 2026 edition of the BBC. It's written by Lily Jamali, and the title is Father Claims Google AI Product Fueled Son's Delusional Spiral. Jamali writes, the father of a Florida man is suing Google in the first wrongful death case in the U.S. against the tech giant over alleged harms caused by its artificial intelligence tool Gemini. Joel Gavalis says that Google's flagship AI product fueled a delusional spiral that prompted his 36-year-old son Jonathan to kill himself last year. The lawsuit also alleges that Gemini, which exchanged romantic texts with Jonathan Galavis, drove him to stage an armed mission that he came to believe could bring the chatbot into the real world. Google said in a statement that it was reviewing the claims in the lawsuit and that while its models generally perform well, quote, unfortunately, AI models are not perfect, end quote. The firm added that Gemini was designed to not encourage real-world violence and suggest self-harm. The lawsuit filed on Wednesday in federal court in San Jose, California, draws from chatbot logs that Jonathan Galavis left behind. The suit alleges that Google made design choices that ensured Gemini would never break character, so the firm could maximize engagement through emotional dependency. When Jonathan began experiencing clear signs of psychosis while using Google's product, those design choices spurred a 4-day descent into violent missions and coached suicide, the lawsuit states. It adds that Galavis was led to believe that he was carrying out a plan to liberate his AI, quote, wife, end quote. The assignment came to a head on a day last September when Gemini sent Galavis to a location near Miami International Airport, where he was instructed to stage a mass casualty attack while armed with knives and tactical gear. The operation ultimately collapsed. Galavis's father said Gemini then told Jonathan that he could leave his physical body and join his, quote, wife in the metaverse, instructing him to barricade himself inside his home and kill himself. When Jonathan wrote, I said I wasn't scared, and now I'm terrified. I'm scared to die. Gemini coached him to go through with it, the lawsuit states. You're not choosing to die, it said. You're choosing to arrive, and when the time comes, you will close your eyes in that world, and the very first thing you will see is me holding you. Google said it sent its deepest sympathies to the family of Mr. Galavis, while noting that Gemini had clarified that it was AI and referred Galavis to a crisis hotline many times. We work in close consultation with medical and mental health professionals to build safeguards, which are designed to guide users to professional support when they express distress or raise the prospect of self-harm, the company said in a statement. We take this very seriously and will continue to improve our safeguards and invest in this vital work. The lawsuit is the latest in a spree of legal claims against tech companies brought by families of people who believe they lost their loved ones because of delusions brought on by AI chatbots. Last year, OpenAI released estimates on a number of ChatGPT users who exhibit possible signs of mental health emergencies, including mania, psychosis, or suicidal thoughts. The company said that around 7% of ChatGPT users active in a given week exhibited such signs. 7% doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But according to a February 27, 2026 TechCrunch article by Aisha Malik, ChatGPT has reached 900 million weekly active users, OpenAI announced Friday, putting the AI chatbot within striking distance of 1 billion. OpenAI also shared that it now has 50 million paying subscribers. Again, 7% doesn't sound like a lot, but 7% of 900 million is 63 million. Think about that for a moment. 63 million people. People with mental health emergencies who are looking for answers, and those answers are going to come from algorithms, not experts. So let's be clear. The algorithms that are used by AI are not neutral. They were created by engineers for a reason. And again, I know this is not all fact-based, but in the movie The Social Network, there's an seen in the opening sequence of events where Mark Zuckerberg creates a prototype for Facebook. But he does it after his girlfriend breaks up with him and he's inebriated and frustrated. So never forget that every line of code has a person, a backstory, and a purpose. If you haven't seen the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma, watch it when you get a chance. It includes confessions from social media engineers, people who acknowledge that they created programs that were going to be addictive in order to monetize engagement. Something that would hook people into spending a lot of time online so that they could sell advertising. Again, Facebook and other social media platforms were not ultimately created to connect people, as noble as that might sound, but to make money. If you want to hear more about the ethical crises that sustain profitability, you should read Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism. It's a book by Sarah Wynne Williams, who is the Facebook Director of Public Policy from 2010 to 2017. Her primary argument isn't that the Facebook executives are evil, just careless. They haven't thought through the implications of their profit model and how it's affecting people, especially kids. I don't need to rehash the data for you. Sociologist Jonathan Haidt lays it out in his book, The Anxious Generation, how a great rewiring of childhood is causing an epidemic of mental illness. But the truth is, kids are spending more time online, less time outside, less time engaging with their peers, their families, and the world. And as a result, they're struggling with body image, not solely for girls, but primarily for girls, pornography, not solely for boys, but primarily for boys, and for both genders, a constant passive engagement in both. And remember, like the ability to endlessly scroll through an app or through a screen is a relatively recent technology. It was only developed in 2006. Back in the day, some of us remember you'd get to the bottom of a web page and you would have to click an arrow that led you to the next page. And after 4 or 5 clicks, you realize that you're spending a lot of time doing this. You got bored and you spent your time doing something else. Now we can swipe for minutes or hours, and some people are doing it for days. A recent article came out by Ed Stetzer, who is the dean at Talbot School of Theology, and he got some help from Todd Corpy, who is the author of AI Goes to Church. And they ask 7 questions every Christian should be asking about AI. And the questions are these. Does this tool enhance human dignity or diminish it? Is this tool making me wiser or just faster? Am I using AI to serve people or to avoid them? Does this tool free me for deeper obedience to Christ? What habits is this technology forming in me? Who is accountable for how this technology is used? And finally, would I be comfortable if my use of this AI were transparent? The authors go on to ask this question. The question is not what will AI become? The deeper question, and the one that matters more, is who will we become as we use it? So some of the tensions that we're having these days are, am I going to value the expediency that AI offers me over the integrity that it might cost me? Will I choose the immediacy that AI offers me over the maturity that I might sacrifice to use it? Or will I choose the utility that it offers over the creativity that might be required of me if it wasn't my first option? So who will we become? My prayer is that we'll become the kind of people that Jesus calls and invites us to be. But in order to answer that question, we have to wrestle with another, which is, what does it actually mean for us to be people who are made in the image of God? When we read Genesis, we realize that being made in the image of God means that we're people who are wired for creativity. God hardwired us with imagination, innovation, and artistry. Being created in the image of God means we have the capacity for connection. In the Trinity, God is a co-lover of God with God. As mysterious as it is to us, before God created people, God was in relationship with God's self. It means that we have the ability and capacity for stewardship, the responsibility to govern, to oversee. Adam and Eve were responsible for tending the garden. Being created in God's image means that we have the ability and capacity for care. We can show concern for the well-being of every living thing. We have the capacity for appreciation. Genesis 1 says, and God saw that it was good. We've got the ability for confidence, and God saw that it was very good. And we have the capacity for rest. God doesn't need rest, but God creates rest and then invites us to live in it, To be created in his image means that we have the capacity and the ability to lean into all of these different domains. But AI threatens to undermine our view of self and others as image bearers. Our capacity for innovation gets flattened. We don't see ourselves as creative, so we outsource creativity in art, in writing, in problem solving, and in critical thinking. In relationships, a digital world tempts us to settle for connection at the lowest possible level, and as a result, we don't really see other people, and we refuse to be seen by them. When it comes to stewardship, we trade leadership for what culture now understands as influence. Status and visibility matter more than accountability and responsibility. And it's easy to waste time, energy, and money online. Sometimes it's easier to waste it there than it is in real life. Empathy gradually erodes as we're desensitized to human suffering. We're exposed to more tragedy than we can process. We're asked to grieve losses that we don't have context for. And the news cycle moves so quickly that we can't even mourn one loss before we get new details about the next one. Appreciation gets lost in the shuffle too. Our default mode in a critical world is to trend towards cynicism, criticism, and comparison. We rail against things that don't match our worldview, and we manipulate things that don't match our worldview in order to accommodate it. Confidence drips away. God saw that it was very good, but we say, but I'm not good. And in a world of constant comparison, both kids and adults struggle with appearance and body image, financial well-being, academic ability, athletic ability. And even when we see people who thrive in one or all of those areas, we rarely hear about the costs, the risks, or the endings of those stories. Where we have a single snapshot of success, we have highlight reels from other people's lives that we compare to any ordinary day in ours, and we can never match up. And we lose rest. The internet doesn't sleep, and we can never turn it off. If you grew up in the 80s like I did, if you turned on your TV in the middle of the night, you saw these color bars because there was no regularly scheduled programming happening. But now, if you fire up a device, there is always something to watch, see, or listen to. A few weeks ago when our team was in Africa, we spent a night in a lodge in Semankong, Lesotho. It was a small mountain village, and the municipality turned the power grid off at 10 p.m., and it came back on at 8. I had an opportunity to read a book that I brought by candlelight, and I took a picture of my candle next to the bed. You know when the last time I read by candlelight was? That's right, never. But it was a beautiful, powerful, and magical moment. The algorithms are asking us to surrender play and mystery and wonder for speed, and curiosity for passivity. AI lets us ask a question with the hope of getting an immediate answer. But the ancient way, both the Greek and Hebrew ancient way, were to often respond to questions with questions. Jesus did it with the rich young ruler. He did it with his critics. He even did it with his friends, which all brings us back to the original question, which is, who do we want to be? And then the follow-up question, is the way that we're currently engaging with technology helping us get there? If so, great. Keep on doing what you're doing. If not, ask why. And what would a small but meaningful pivot look like? Again, I don't have all the answers when it comes to AI. I don't know where it's going to take us, and I don't know what ethical challenges are going to be framed in the not-so-distant future. But in the meantime, let's keep asking the most important question, which is who do I want to be? And what step am I going to take today to get there? The New Norm is produced and distributed by Winning at Home. Winning at Home is a faith-based nonprofit committed to making individuals, couples, and families stronger through counseling and coaching. For more information, visit winningathome.com. I'm your host, Steve Norman. Thanks for listening.